Call to order the June 9th regular school board meeting for Seaman USD 345. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Lance, would you like to lead us? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you, sir. I can do whatever I want.
She's the president for one more minute.
All right. Do we have any public communication? Thank you, Candace. We need an adoption of the agenda.
Madam, go ahead. You're on it.
Go ahead, Brady.
President. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Superintendent, Mr. Wilson.
Oh, we did that. Sorry. I'm gonna take a little bit of time to step up on a soapbox. You're gonna hear about a request to change the district's mission statement. And one important part that I think is worth adding to it is working together. In Seaman, it's really who we are and what we do. But we have seen that in a lot of places, you have people working against, and you see two sides. And what I see here is a common goal of student success. And we can and should disagree about all that entails and how we get to that student success, which means we can have discussion, we can have disagreement, and those things bring critical thinking and analysis to the work and make us better. We need to consider all sides of an issue or problem or a solution that's brought forward. When disagreement happens about what we do or how we do it, that's great. But when it becomes an us versus them, I think we all lose. We'll discuss budget actions later in the meeting. I've had a few emails about items on the list. All were incredibly professional. All sought to approach the issue or disagreement from the perspective that we are on the same team. I really appreciate that. I couldn't be more proud or appreciative of our school district and our staff. And you will see there are some recommendations that I've reconsidered and I've changed my mind about based on some of those conversations. Regardless, we must find 1.5 million to reallocate. But if everyone took working together as seriously as I feel like the Seaman staff is doing right now, we would have many more solutions and a lot less fighting. And so I'm just wanted to say I'm very proud of what I've seen from our staff in the last month or so, especially as they've had feedback on these budget issues. Thank you.
Thank you. President remarks. Does any of the board members have anything for this month? All right. First, I want all of us to have Christy in our thoughts. She's got some health stuff going on. So thoughts and prayers for Christy. We miss her. I want to tell everyone, have a great summer. Relax, enjoy, do what you need to do. I know those of us who work all summer, but still try and take some time to enjoy the outdoors, get the vitamin D, and have a great summer. Thank you. All right, moving on. Disposition of business by consent. I need an approval of the consent.
Madam President, make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Excuse me, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, moving on to discussion items. Teaching and learning. Megan.
Good evening.
Hey.
Hey, all right. So I'm just going to highlight one quick item on the teaching and learning report, and that's the first item on the first page. And frequently, as we approach summer, I tend to field questions about, well, what does summer look like for you? What is it that you are working on over the summer? And so included in the teaching and learning report are just some of the teaching and learning tasks, kind of a quick overview of some of the things that happen within teaching and learning world for next year. It's a very intentional time in order to make those preparations as we look ahead to the next year. So you can see kind of included within there, this is the time where we are making those plans for our new teachers as they are returning. This summer, we are working to revamp the mentoring program. And then of course, this summer is also an opportunity to really lay out the foundation of the plans for our KISA action plan as we go into next year. So that's just a couple of the things within teaching and learning. And then you can see a couple of the other updates over the next couple of pages. But are there any questions for me?
All right. All right, moving on, student parent handbook.
Yes, so you were provided a handbook revisions or handbook changes document, and that's the document that I am going to reference as we go through these today. But no, as you look at the handbook revisions document, all of these page numbers that are on the left refer to the copies of the handbooks that are also provided for you. So you can cross-reference and see exactly what changes have been made. Upon approval next month, those changes will be approved in the drafts so that everything that's either been highlighted or crossed through will be cleaned up. But this gives you an opportunity to kind of see where we've been and what those changes are going to be. I'm not going to run through every single change. Of course, ask me any questions if you have them. There's just a couple of things that I want to highlight. And the first thing that I want to highlight is also in recognition of Teresa Dunham, who we know does so much for us. But Teresa went through policy with a fine-tooth comb and identified some policies that were listed as being present in our student handbooks and finding that some of them weren't. And so we have made sure that all the policies that are meant to be in our handbooks from our milk handbook up through the high school are now present. So you'll see at every level some consistency now with a lot of policies listed in here. And that's one of the biggest changes across the board, is just ensuring that all of that policy is there. And in most cases, the policies are now linked in the handbook. So if we update and make changes to those policies, the accurate language and descriptions will be viewable by those using the handbooks. Similar to that, you will see that bullying handbook information has been added across the board in all of our handbooks. And that's a shout out to Deidre and her work with principals this year to make sure that our bullying handbook information was up to date. It had the information that we wanted to express. And instead of having a separate handbook for that, which maybe didn't get referenced as much, all of the bullying handbook information has now been embedded within the handbooks. So that's been very nice to see as well. Another piece that you will see at all levels is the AI guidelines that have been in draft form over the course of this year that we had gotten feedback on, and those are now embedded in the handbooks for reference as well. Besides that, this really was kind of a fine-tuning year. So there's just kind of some minor changes across other levels, but those were the big things that I wanted to highlight and make sure to bring your attention to. So were there any questions or anything that you saw on your end?
Thanks to Teresa.
I know. She's really is amazing. She deserved a shout out. Yeah.
Teresa.
I noticed all those and I thought,
Yeah. That is Teresa Dunham, 100%.
yes, wonderful.
Who if is listening never gets to leave.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Any questions for Megan over this?
I like the way you set these up.
Yeah.
That makes it very easy to look at.
Good. That's
Mhm.
the goal, though, that you can quickly reference what's changing.
Great, great. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, the iPad transition discussion.
Yes, I think Jeff is joining me for this one. As he comes up here, I'll just kind of set the background for this proposal that we're bringing to you tonight. So we are looking at transitioning to iPads at the elementary level. So we already at iPads with K1. So bringing iPads to 2nd through 6th grade, not next year, but the year following. So starting the 2026 school year. However, since that is a shift in the teaching and learning world for our teachers at those grades, we want to be intentional in the things that we do this coming year in order to prepare them for making that switch and the impacts on their instruction. So one of the pieces to that transition timeline that you can see there in the table in the middle of the proposal was to integrate iPad cards at all of our 5 elementaries in order to give teachers an opportunity to check them out and do some instruction based with iPads next year. So you can see as we look at the information included on the proposal, we are at this time saying that those iPad cards would just have 15 devices in them. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First, prior to COVID, all of our elementary classrooms only had 15 devices in them. That at the time was our technology integration at the elementary level. So our teachers who've been around since prior to COVID were familiar with that setup in the classroom. But also as part of our budget discussions, you may have seen that we're planning to do a technology audit here in the fall. So early in this coming year to really see what are those technology needs at the elementary level and what is going to be the right number of iPads or devices per classroom. And so it's easier to maybe start with a smaller number instead of a full cart of 30 available to everyone, just in case the technology audit shows that at certain grade levels, maybe we don't need a full classroom set of one-to-one. Of course, if we, after the technology audit, land on one-to-one, then going into 2026, we can certainly have the full sets of iPads. But we just wanted to err on the side of caution and knowing that more information is coming and have those 15 devices, which can still be used by teachers either in some center times and partner work and other instructional opportunities within the classroom. They can still get a feel with those 15 devices. So you can see other items that are listed here on the proposal that we plan to do to assist teachers in the transition beyond the iPad cards. But tonight we're really here to propose about making the purchase for the iPads now in order to have those for next year. So at that point, I'm turning it over to Jeff to talk the money side.
So what we're looking at asking is for 75 brand new iPads. They'll be the 2025 version. And a keyboard case to go along with it. And it is the recommended keyboard case that Apple says that they'll cover. Matter of fact, I think they even will require you, if you want Apple Care on these devices, which we won't do, they want you to have this case on them. So this is like the one that they recommend in most one-to-one situations. So you can see the prices for those there. We already have all of the carts we need in the district from years past, but they will have to be rewired for the new connections that these iPads have, since I think these original carts have the big 30-pin connectors from the original iPad. So we've got some wiring to do, and I put that in the budget as well. Probably overshot that a little bit, but I want to be sure. You're looking at about $10 to $15 per device for new wiring adapters, things like that. So that ends up to be about $1,000. We'll probably do it for a little bit less, but wanted to overshoot that just a little bit. So you're looking at about $34,000 out of capital. We would probably have those ready to go into the classroom by the very beginning of September, I believe.
So 15 iPads per school. So you got 6 grades that are gonna share 15 iPads, right? Is what you're saying?
Yes. We envision it being just a checkout system. If they have a lesson or activity that they would like to try, they'll still have all of their MacBooks with them. So they're still going to be one-to-one
True.
with their
Okay.
MacBooks.
Okay.
It's more like, okay, I want to get a feel for how to do this particular activity that I do on a MacBook now with an iPad.
Okay.
And they'll work
okay,
with their,
okay.
yeah, they'll work with the instructional coach to check them out. So,
And really, only your second through sixth grade are probably going to need these to pilot because your K1 already has iPads in the classrooms.
Oh,
So you're really looking at full grades.
I was thinking it's
yeah.
really.
Yeah, we're not thinking.
Stretching fear with it.
Yeah.
Not ready to move
Okay.
down that far yet.
Yeah.
great. Any more
So
questions?
really what we're leading to then is to do away with MacBooks at the elementary level over the next couple of years, not next year.
So we're gonna be, this coming year will be as is, potentially with all of this with it. We will start discussing the elementary refresh in October-ish. After we go through an audit of the tech that we're using at the elementary level. That purchase will be brought to you guys for discussion in probably December, January timeframe to decide what we want to do, and we'll have all that report
Yeah.
and everything
Okay,
ready for.
that's
you
what
at
I
that
thought,
time.
yeah,
Yes.
okay.
But their plan initially is to bring iPads to you for elementary. All
Yes.
available.
What is the benefit of going from the MacBook to the iPad?
Instructional?
Yeah, I would love to speak to that
Yeah.
instructionally. And if you speak with Apple or attend Apple sessions, really the device that they are promoting a lot these days is the iPad, just because it gives you that opportunity to be more creative and mobile in your teaching and learning than a MacBook device, such as, you know, being able to take a quick picture of something and then annotate over it and then make a presentation on it. So just the quick tools that come with an iPad can enhance the teaching and learning environment beyond a way than I feel we're using the MacBooks at this point in time. And you also think about student familiarity with the device. Our students are very familiar with tablets or iPhones and how to use them and integrate them in their lives. So it's a very natural tool for students to use. It comes with all the MacBook Suite apps already with it. So things like Keynote, GarageBand, iMovie, which we have on our computer. But again, the ease of use with those apps is much nicer with the iPad than on the MacBook that can be kind of cumbersome to use some of them. So there's really just a lot of potential there that could maybe transform our teaching and learning a little bit differently. So that's nice. But there's
And the icing on the cake is they're way cheaper.
Yes,
there's
yes,
Which
It's a
I knew
fast
that.
cost.
that's,
Yeah.
Going iOS versus a Mac OS device. And the repair rate on iOS devices is a fraction of what it is with Mac. And when they do need repair, they're a fraction of the cost to fix.
sweet,
So you're looking at a very significant cost savings if we were to go that route.
great.
Oh, yeah, and if we do approve these 75, and then whatever we do decide to buy, quantity wise for the next school year, 26, 27, these 75 will roll in. So your lease purchase price, when we do come to you in January-ish, will be minus 75 devices, because we'll roll these into that 4-year lease.
and minus $34,000.
Correct, so it'll be that much cheaper.
Does it make
It'll
a
be that
difference?
much cheaper.
Saving
You
you,
sound like my wife now, Jeff.
There's a sale.
It's like a sale.
You save money with the sale.
$299.99.
Does
That's
it,
great.
make a difference as far as your implementation, whether we try and approve this tonight or next month?
Timeline wise, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
We've got time if you guys want to talk about it.
I wanted to ask. 'cause
For such a
if it
small-
made a
Small
difference.
quantity, I think we could probably be up and running in a month pretty easily, so.
Great.
Oh, I can do that. So, cap outlay, I'm assuming this was budget or fits in the budget and.
It fits in part of the technology budget that is already outlined in it.
Okay.
Thank you,
34,000 of
guys.
that, which is a small fraction.
Right. Lisa's back shaking her head. I don't think she agreed. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I can feel it.
Spend to save. Right.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Classified handbooks, Mr. Nice.
Only change is on page 27, and this is something that you guys had already approved, just wasn't in the handbook. Under holidays for 12-month employees, the addition of the day after Christmas. Any questions?
Page what?
27.
Does this apply to all area businesses or just the school?
Yes, you get that day off as well.
Absolutely. Oh,
How is it a Friday? Is it a Saturday?
Every day is Saturday.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
We're not all that blessed yet.
any questions?
You got sidetracked, Lynn.
thank you.
You just have your boss call us.
Right?
Deidre,
Good evening, everyone. My special services reports, continuing is talking about what's happening in special education today. So, today ESY started at the middle school and high school. That's a little bit different than we've had in the past. I know I've talked about this the last couple of months, but students at the middle school and high school are having ESY in their home schools, and we just feel like that's going to allow them to have a greater success than they've had in the past because it's in their home environment. So that started today. I wasn't able to go because we have meetings, but Kyle sent me some great pictures. Are already ready to go, having some fun, working on goals on their IEPs. That's what ESY is for, continuing to work on their goals on their IEPs and have a little fun as well. On the next page, I'll talk about the summer preschool screenings. You could read through that. Something different on top of preschool screenings is that we had some of our TARC students that are 2 years old living in our district that are turning 3 had an IFSP getting services through TARC. 8 of them turned 3 this summer, which we typically don't do evaluations in the summer, but it really works out best for them. It's closer to their birthdays and allows them to have some more time before they turn 3, before we evaluate them for a comprehensive evaluation and determine if they have a disability and a need for specially designed instruction. So that Milk advocated for that because these students are so young and have summer birthdays. And so we allowed that to happen, and they're doing that. That started today with the first session and will continue this week as well. And then you can see as well on there all of the preschool screenings and the data in regards to those screenings. Special services is booming today in the district. Do you have any questions about any of that? Okay, thank you.
thank you, Deidre. Mr. Bradley. Hello.
Hello, Vance. We've officially started our summer projects. Love to have some time off.
I didn't say anything about time off. I just said enjoy summer.
So this is our 4 units at the high school that we started the day after Memorial. It actually, all 4 units are up and running. Trains in here tweaking them as we speak. They were supposed to finish actually, I think tomorrow, they're supposed to finish up.
Your pictures don't do justice to how big that crane was.
No, that thing was, when he had to reach over to the commons area. Before it lifted, I walked in the building, we had students walking through there, it just kind of. My hair raised up and I was like, go, so. But yeah, they got it all done about a day and a half, so all the units are up and running. Commons area, and then over by the bank, Bill's office. In the mornings, we have the sun that comes in and some of the cameras and the people could see down the hallway. So I had some film put on at the end of the hallways. And it's actually kind of shadowy and it's kind of cool in those spots. So cool. And then the last one, I don't have any pictures for it. The start of the sound at the high school, middle school. They've got most of the wiring started at the high school. They started at middle school this morning, waiting on the speakers, and then I think the lights are supposed to start sometime this week, next week. So hopefully we can get rolling on that.
Gonna keep up.
Hmm?
Gonna keep up sound pipes.
What?
No, that is the auditorium,
Yeah.
the high school, and then the commons area in the middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Those are having issues.
okay.
So,
Yep. Good question. Somebody else asked that question earlier today.
I didn't know we were doing it. So,
Yeah.
everyone talking about high school meeting and everything.
so the sound started today, so. Is there any other questions?
Thank you
You're
very much. All right, partnership plan and the mission statement, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, I'm going to give a pretty high level of the partnership plan. I'm going to go over the rollout first. And it just talks about how we're going to, we've done all the work with getting survey responses. We've talked to our staff, our administrators, our parents, and really, in my opinion, done a really nice job of saying, what do we need from each other and how can we work together? Kind of reiterating what I talked about earlier, instead of working separately to help raise these kids and give them the best education possible. One of the things I want to highlight is we're going to introduce this partnership plan at convocation on August 7th, and then follow up with an email. And then we will ask on back to school nights, ask our staff to introduce this to parents. And then parents will be able to pick up a proud partner window decal for their cars if they want to be a proud partner of the school district. And there is a picture of that, but if you want to check that out on yours. The actual partnership plan has been modified slightly based on feedback from the surveys, but it is something that we've gone through before, and I don't think we need to extensively go through, but you can see that on your agenda as well. The 6 areas being care for each other, communicate frequently and professionally, be accountable, be involved and available, do your best and enjoy doing it, and assume positive intent. And all of those have different roles for each group, but really it's outlined pretty well in those 6 big picture things. So that is the partnership plan. That is being bundled with, and let me ask if there are any questions on the process or the end result of the partnership plan. Yes, sir.
Do you have to be a parent to be a partner?
No, unless Candace tells me we do.
I mean, it's kind of like the concept of it, but I'm sure we can expand it to. Definitely staff, are invited as well, but then, yeah, we could talk about how we can expand that even more.
We probably have some community partners that would
That's what
be
I was
proud to
thinking.
have that. Yep.
I was thinking.
Yep.
I'd like to be a partner.
The board can be a partner for sure.
I figured, I was
Yes,
just thinking.
community
Yeah,
partners, yes.
somebody.
Any other questions or thoughts? All right, so obviously that partnership plan has been a lot of listening, a lot of working with, but it's set up to, the concept behind it is we can't raise parents' kids alone, and I don't think they want us to. And we know that parents don't want to educate their kids without us, and so it really takes a village to raise kids. I was telling Mr. Rick Norton the other day that I had read an article about raising kids as a community. And I thought it was an interesting article. Back when I was young, if I was at one of my friends' house, their parents got to tell me what to do. And there was never question. In fact, my parents would have been upset if they didn't do something like that. And so this is really that concept of, this is a pretty tight-knit community. Let's raise our kids together with our core values, and no, we don't have to agree on everything, But there's some things that we can all agree on, and I think those are outlined really clearly in this partnership plan. That brings me to the recommended, but I really just want to bring it up for your discussion to talk about your thoughts on changing the mission statement. I actually really like the mission statement we have now. It's been in effect since 2016. Is that accurate? Okay, 2016. It is pretty long, and a lot of, we'll talk about in a minute, a lot of the stuff that's in there really is telling us how to accomplish our mission, not really what our mission is that we want to accomplish. And our guiding principles and other areas help do that, and I'll be more specific on that later. But to get to the point, as we looked at this, we thought how we do it is working together. What we do is prepare each student, and why we do it is so that our students have lifelong success. So the recommendation for you to talk about is working together to prepare each student for lifelong success. Working together is typified by our partnership plan. Preparing each student, the what is identified in our focus areas and objectives. And then lifelong success, the why we do this is defined by our graduate profile. So I will leave that up to you. And then if you'd like me to talk about where some of the other stuff in the mission statement is in our current documents, I'd be happy to talk about that as well. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
I like it because it's short and sweet and to the point.
Does help for people to remember it if
Exactly.
I think the working together just solidifies family and school working together, or parents and school working together.
any concerns. I think whoever put all the work in to create the last mission statement, put some really good things in there. So I'm just going to highlight strong and healthy relationships, essential for what we do. It is part of what's in our guiding principles as a safe and supporting learning environment. And it's part of when we say we're focused on the success for all students and staff. That's part of that as well. The rigorous relevant learning is part of an engaging and innovative learning environment. And it's about developing students' academic, cognitive, and employability skills. It just adds a lot more definition to that. And then we have in our guiding principles, forward thinking and developing leadership capacities of our students. And we think that's largely wrapped into that rigorous relevant learning. And then responsive and caring culture, very similar to strong and healthy relationships, is being safe and supportive, but also the honest and transparent, as well as the accountability for all is part of that culture. And then the last part, which is maximizing talents, aspirations, and community contributions, is kind of in the, well, it is in the, those are the things that we're working on more specifically in the graduate profile with college and career readiness, community readiness, and life readiness. And so that's where a lot of those things that were in the mission statement, nothing in the old one was bad. It was just pretty long and verbose for people to actually focus on.
2018, that's what.
2018, I'm very sorry. Could not remember that. I know I had been told.
I agree with Michelle that I like their conciseness. Just puts everything in there.
I kind of thought this was that cherry on top of a lot of the work that the board and our community has done with all the other guiding documents, but I kind of initially said I had no intention of changing the mission statement because I do like it, but we kind of felt like it was the cherry on top to make it all kind of come together. We will bring this back to you. I do think that the mission of the district ought to be something that the board votes on. So we will bring that back to you if there are no objections. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Budget discussion,
Okay.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. So I'm going to, you guys have gone over the full plan. It has been changed in a couple areas. I want to highlight those areas. I know you've seen this in notes that have been sent to you, but I think it's important for everybody to see what has been changed. On the first ESSER funded software products, Pebble Go, along with Reading Eggs, Math Seeds, and Seesaw, were all moved to being purchased with ESSER funds, and ESSER funds were gone. What I didn't realize was that Pebble Go was utilized significantly by librarians now, but honestly, it was being used by librarians even before COVID. And I sent you guys some utilization reports. Our veteran librarians use it significantly. And their comment was, really, that's our curriculum. And we want our newer librarians to be using it as well. And so we're going to get training for our newer librarians so that all of our schools are utilizing that resource. So that is a change that we did based on feedback. A second change that I am recommending, and again, these are just my recommendations, is GBQR. I worked on GBQR for a long time and I couldn't find a solid policy recommendation to bring to the board, which effectively saved significant funds while holding those who are nearing retirement harmless. And I think just knowing this board, that was pretty important to the board to honor some of those that are 3 to 5 years, especially to retirement. But in my stabs, if you want me to stab again, I will look at it again. I looked at a couple options, but nothing really struck out and nothing saved us in the short term, next 3 years, really any money, which is really what this plan is about. And then going to the communicator. We talked last time about making that communicator available to our community who loves to read about the great things going on in our schools. And so worked with the communication department to get a recommendation. And it's pretty lengthy, so I won't go over it, but I think you guys have had it sent to you. But in order to continue to serve our community while transitioning to a more efficient system, the communication department has come up with kind of what I would call a hybrid plan, where they're going to put out mailers just like we always have, and then help those folks that are reading it to really tap into the electronic version that they can have access to as well. And so if I remember right, we've got a couple more paper ones coming out over the next couple of years, and then that will help them transition to electronic. And you know us, we'll work with anybody that needs help with that. Oh, high school schedule. Again, these last 3 are no changes recommended, but I wanted to make sure everybody knew the clarity that I provided to staff and folks with this. The high school schedule, one of the questions they asked is, well, it says traditional schedule. Well, just like their schedule change, I'm always open to high school staff looking at their schedule and bringing a recommendation for a schedule. My criteria is it has to meet the requirements of the negotiated agreement, has to meet requirements such as ASDE regs, and then obviously this budget ensures that teachers would teach 6 courses so that we can get the budget savings out of that schedule change. Again, this doesn't come into effect this upcoming year, and so I'm open to creative solutions that they may come up with. With Schoology, I wanted to add clarity to that this recommendation is to investigate options with staff input to possibly find a different option for them as a learning management system. I don't think anybody here thought we could just get rid of a learning management system altogether. And the biggest concern we heard was, will all of our work that we've done be lost? And so we need to look to see, are there ways to migrate information over to other systems, but that's all part of the investigation part of it. So that recommendation hasn't changed. I still think we need to look into Schoology. ESGI had some questions on that, but we have a year to see if FastBridge, which provides assessments, and Power School, which provides a platform for communicating grades and assessment results, can meet the teachers' needs in those areas. And when they found out they had a year to test FastBridge and see, especially on the assessment part of it, is that going to meet their needs? That helped them out a lot on that. I got asked by a board member, which was a great question. What is the goal? We're looking for at least $250,000 of savings this next year. It's not enough, but we know if we cut too deep in all quickly, that'll cause more pain than maybe that dollar is worth. In the second year of this plan, we're looking to save $750,000 from our ongoing budget. And then in the last year or two, we're looking for another $500,000 for a total savings in our year-to-year budget of $1.5 million. That's a lot of reallocated funds, but we think it's for the good, and we think it's for the long-term health of the district, both financial health of the district. It's funny when we say district, we mean the people in our district, which means that we are able to recruit, retain, and pay comparable salaries to what we're seeing in other school districts in our area. If we continue declining enrollment, we may need to look at additional savings to that number. What questions, comments, thoughts? Nothing in here is a purchase that necessarily would require board voting, but you're welcome to accept this. You can do it next time. If you'd like us to bring it back to as a voting item, we can do that. Or if you want to just make comments, we can listen to those obviously. Yeah.
So, no, I just want to keep some praise on Brad, Lisa, and everyone who's involved in kind of drawing this up, because hopefully people, I know they probably don't, but hopefully people realize the amount of work that went into this, the amount of work that went into finding bank, and that does not cause major pain. Obviously, the cutting is never a fun thing to do. It's like take money from certain parts of the budget and the other parts, not a positive thing ever. But you guys were able to kind of come through this with the fine tooth comb and it was make it work. And I really appreciate the work you guys did. Really good. So
there's a lot of people that had a lot of good input on this, including, since the last time you looked at it, a lot of teachers, staff members have also given really good input, which is appreciated. And like I said, it was as professional as you could have ever imagined. So thank you.
So do we need to approve all of this?
You really don't. This is just moves that we make in our budget. You will approve the budget at some point. But
But
reality,
would it be better if we did approve this so that we could get it going?
it's going.
How's that?
But
I
it's-
guess going either way.
It's going either way. You're welcome to. I don't have any problem if you want to approve it.
The game. I think is what she's after.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm, other than somebody going, well, maybe we shouldn't do this, but I mean, we've given time for feedback and I think we've heard to it. I don't think people are going to question that this is necessary. That at least we've heard pretty loud and clear, as they understand that in order to fund the raises for our staff, we have to do some of these things. And like what's picked or not, I don't think anybody is really arguing that we had to make cuts in order to do that. And so maybe that is the good, Braden, that has come out of it, is that they see that we do value our staff and their pay. Our staff we've said it all the time, but our staff is our number one reason that we're successful, head and shoulders.
So if we would approve this as the board, transparency, we've got it backed. I mean, what does the board think? Do we just say go for it, or do you think it'd be better for us?
I think there's a running it tonight, but also I think it's nice to have the other two here. Yeah, 7 people say yes. But also I don't think that matters.
Right, yeah, we don't need to do anything. We've discussed it as a board several times.
Yeah,
And that's, I mean, apparently they can go back and watch the videos, but there's, again, like we said, there's no harm in if we did want to approve it or give it our blessing.
right.
But
That's
we're doing that now also.
The only thing I would ask you to do if you vote on it,
solidarity.
yep, the only thing I would ask you to do if you vote on it is to allow some flexibility
Absolutely.
in how some of these things are implemented. For example, when we say investigate, we don't really know what the end result is. So just some understanding that, as we have stated throughout the whole thing, that this is a conceptual plan of how we're going to reallocate funds, not a specific roadmap of exactly how we're going to follow it. And I think that's important that we, I
That's
think
why
it's two
I'm
things.
afraid, not afraid, but
Well, we have to stay to the concept. If we don't stay to the concept, we won't have money to either pay our folks or to have a solvent school district. And so in your guys' board priorities, you said recruiting and retaining staff is important. And I think I can speak for all of you to say that you want us to be a financially sound and responsible district. And so I think when you vote on this, if you choose to vote on this, that's basically what you're saying is by board edict, we expect and demand that the superintendent makes moves that are fiscally sound and honor the staff. And
so
so.
do we want to do that when all 7 of us are here, or do we want to do it
The
now?
more we talk about it, the more I'm like, I don't think we should vote on it just because it has to be a little bit fluid in the instance
Yeah.
if something comes up.
Right,
That's what.
You know, something
Right.
financial comes up, we have to not totally, but we need to make severe changes to it. Having it weighed down by a
Yeah.
vote that we did is potentially just another loophole we may or may not.
I
know-
agree.
I know we would leave flexibility and
I
I just think
agree.
it's maybe an unnecessary step.
so just giving you our blessing, like we all think.
Yeah.
That would be a vote, and that's why a vote,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
somebody said solidarity is important, and I agree that we should be on board as much as possible. It doesn't mean everybody has to agree with everything we do. But I do feel like the board has been very supportive of this process. So let me throw an if. Here's what we don't know. We don't know yet. We will get more information with our demography assessment. But we don't know if we're going to be declining enrollment and we need to add to this, or when they redo the finance formula,
Yeah.
if it increases our funding and maybe we don't need to do all of these things. So there are some unknowns down the road that I just don't have, but I'd be more than happy to bring this back next month for a vote. That is not, and I think that would
You
be,
don't think that's necessary. I think piggybacking off of what Braden said, we all appreciate all the work you guys have put into this. And we trust that you, as superintendent, you know what is expected, and we know you're gonna do what's best.
And you're very transparent with us anyway, so.
Exactly, you're
I
transparent
think, you
with
know, the
everyone.
folks we have in the business department, Lisa.
Lisa,
Marty helps with
Marty.
this. All of our folks, even down to
Lance.
our departments like Lance, who has to make
I
changes.
think add to that too, that you've put this out to the staff.
Yeah.
And there's been so much input.
Yeah.
Right,
And so
I think we're good.
Good.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Well, I know it's an error for me to say this has not been,
Oh,
this has
Kyle.
been easy for the board, because I know it's not. And I appreciate your support.
So I just-
Yes, Kyle.
No, I agree with everything's been said. Just one clarification, if the state gives us more money and we have, doesn't mean we need.
Necessarily not do this.
Exactly.
These are
We
kind of.
feel these are things that could, should be done.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if we have extra money, that's even better.
Right.
Okay.
We have to get over the concept of there's endless money.
We
Always
always
get
so
more.
let's spend it.
Yeah.
Gotta
Right.
spend it, right?
Yeah,
So
so nothing.
it's just the.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I'm
Good
glad you brought
point.
that up.
I'm glad you said that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So,
And I've had 2 or 3 people ask me, are we in financial trouble, our school district? I said, not right now, no. But going forward, if we want to hire good people and be able to pay people what they're worth, yeah, we are, if you look at it that way. So I,
So
you
we
know,
need these adjustments.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to make the
Because
adjustments before you
know,
get in
there's
trouble.
people are- have noticed and are talking about this.
Yeah.
right,
So.
Yes.
good, good. So I think we're all in agreement that we're in a good place with this and keep moving forward.
Moving forward
So
then.
we hired Brad for.
Yeah.
We can go.
What we hired Lisa for too.
Yay.
And
That's
Marty.
why we love Lisa.
So we do.
Okay, so moving on to action items. Oh, I am
Oh,
not
Go ahead.
excited about this.
Nope.
Medicaid reimbursements.
So I know Mr. Wilson made you guys aware of this in your Friday notes, that we were recently informed that there had been an error with the Medicaid reimbursement that's ran through our third-party vendor, PCG. There's roughly 212 school districts that are having the same conversation this month. We are very fortunate that we have put money into our reserves. You've heard Mr. Wilson and I talk over and over again how important that is. This is a prime example of we have no control over it. The state, I think it says you have to have 30 or 60 days to typically return it. The state is allowing us an extra time to return it, but it's still within a year. So if we would have had to turn that around right away, we would have been in worse shape without that contingency reserve. At this time, we would like to have the board allocate $230,900 from our contingency reserve to pay expenses up to that value, which would ensure that we can meet our expenditures this year, since they will be taking that money out of our final payment that we should have received. Even though it's over that time span, we still have to pay it back pretty quickly.
So we have to pay back the 239,900.
Yes, and it's
Okay.
gonna come out of their final payment of this year. So that is money we expected to receive
Okay,
that we are not going to receive from the federal government.
okay. So we need a motion to use,
Well, you need to declare a contingency. That is how you tap into contingency reserve. So the board is the only one that can declare a contingency.
right,
So this would be your unexpected thing. So kind of how it's
so
written.
not a motion to.
Well, a
use-
motion to declare a contingency. So I would read it just as it is up there.
Okay. So I make a motion to declare a contingency due to an error by PCG contracted through KDHE and school-based Medicaid reimbursement to allocate up to $230,900 to be spent from contingency reserve to cover the expenses.
Okay,
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded that we do this declaration.
Questions or comments?
Can you explain to me how an error contractor, someone who is not us, results in us and 211 or 212 other districts?
Yes and no. So, and Lisa may add once I get through, because
Type and see if this.
here's the yes. The yes is we provide Medicaid services to students such as occupational therapy, physical therapy. Those things may be billed to Medicaid. Our payment is based on a formula that after we submit those things, KDHE, the Department of Health and Environment, uses a third-party vendor, which is Public Consulting Group. And then Public Consulting Group is who the flow through of those funds come to us through. So over the past 7 years, since 2017, each of those years has had a incorrect numerator. Incorrect numerator. And so we have been paid most of those years, with the exception of one, about 50,000 too much than what we were supposed to be reimbursed for. And so that is funds that we did receive, but spent in those other fiscal years because we had no idea we weren't owed that. That was what we thought we were owed. And that's what they gave us. This year, they found an error on last year as they were figuring out the 2013. They found that same error when they were doing their audit. And so they said, you have to have a look back to 2017. And they did and found that error every single year since then. And so because of that, technically the federal government, just like if the federal government overpays or you underpay your taxes, they have overpaid us and they require that money to come back to them. There has been a question that I have not had answered yet, and that is, does this company have errors and omission insurance that would pay for something like that? And my guess is if we're paying 230,000 back, that amount of money is well over their policy if they have one, and I don't even know if they have one. But that question has been asked, and my hope is that we will hear some accountability from either PCG or whoever should be accountable for that. We haven't gotten a lot of answers. Both Deidre and Lisa have been in on those calls as well. But we're asking.
Yeah, that should be
Yes.
their problem, not ours.
Yeah.
Major question was, what took us, it's 7 years worth of bills that we have, hey, why are they paying 1 year?
I know.
What happened over 7 years, like, give us it. But the law states that you have to answer it, what the law is.
30 or 60 days, but they're allowing us.
But taking it out of next year's budget really is no different for us than this
Of
year.
them.
Months.
Yeah.
Okay,
We should underpay that.
Well, but we don't pay them anything. They get
They
the
just-
revenue and then send it to us. So
And so they're just not sending us revenue for that amount.
okay. Any other discussion? Huh?
No.
Negative? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
But I do want to point out, we do need to keep building up our contingency reserve
Yes.
for these situations. Um,
And I'd like to make a statement because you guys have seen, when both you can use cap outlay, there's some flexibility in how to use it. There's contingency reserve, but the reality of it is, if you're making moves on money to cover some expense like this, you have to pay it back. Like you have, and I don't say have to because there's any law quote requiring it, but a contingency happens and it eats up 230,000 out of your contingency reserve. And you don't have a plan to pay that back, then what happens the next time? So we want to be good stewards of our taxpayer money, and we think a good steward has actually a little more than we even have right now in there. So our goal is to continue to build up our contingency and make sure that we make all of our bills, we pay all of our folks, and we do everything as we should. And we have that safety net hanging for us as well. And I know for sure, and so does Lisa, that that's what our board would want us to do with the money that taxpayers of Kansas give us.
Thank
you.
you, Lisa. Okay, moving on, policy updates. Mr. Wilson.
All right, these changes, if you've noticed, are very small. They were the part of, again, Teresa going through with a fine tooth comb of our policies. And which one are you on?
DK.
DK. As just a small change, instead of purchase orders to requisitions. And then, and when applicable, a student participating in the activity. A lot of our sign offs during the school year have a student sign off as well. Otherwise, we ask a administrator to sign off on those, but technically a student should be signing off on those if one's available. So that's DK. Now we're going to JGHB. Vending machines. So this is again, food service. So it has that the building principal shall manage the machines, except for we are now on a district contract with our vending. And so the district, the business director, Lisa, manages this, and we're providing an annual report to the board showing all receipts and expenditure for each machine. And then they're going to be deposited in the appropriate. Next. DP. Again, food services, this is because of our collection procedures. There are some times when we do not send somebody to collections. And so what we've done is we changed several wills to may. And that's it on that one. Gives mostly our secretaries the availability. We know there's a situation with this family. The flexibility on doing that. We are on EE. This is food service management. And essentially what you see is the $150 is when it gets turned over. I think by law, Kay will correct me if I'm wrong tomorrow, I guarantee you, is it has to be $50 that they can't charge more than that. So either the district has to reimburse the food service at that time, or the food service has to go to collections, because the food service is not allowed to go into debt for students more than $50. And again, the district can pay that back. So there's more than one way to do this, but that is that change. Is that all of them?
No.
Bonded employees.
Oh, yeah, bonded employees. Really just adds the notaries, and we have notaries. Teresa's one notary. We have a couple other notaries in our district, and then those notaries will be bonded per their job title. And we say that because actually Teresa at the district will be bonded. They're required to be bonded at a certain level, but it's dependent on how much work they do. And so I think Teresa's has a little more than the other two, so we didn't put the specific amounts because that becomes on their notary statement.
All right.
Again, really minor changes, but we want to be accurate with our board policies and our practices.
So we need an emotion.
And emotion.
A motion. A motion to approve the policies as presented.
I'll second.
I want
You
to,
need to make it. Oh, I thought you just did.
well, I
Madam
did.
President, I'll make a motion to approve policies as presented.
Second.
I want to say one thing.
Hang on.
Yes.
It's been moved
EE.
and seconded.
Sorry,
Is there any discussion?
yes, on EE, the date should be 6/25 instead of 6/24.
Thank you. Is that the only one that
That's
we
the only
were?
one I saw.
Okay. Yes, these all should be 6/25.
Sorry,
Yep.
You're fine.
Thank you, Donna. We'll get
I
that
got
changed.
emotional.
Ah, Sorry. Anything else?
There was a comma missing on page
We
76.
do.
Don't start with me,
I was
Chris.
gonna say,
Don't
so
start
she'll
with
find
me.
one.
All right. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now, do we have all three?
Yes, we do have all three.
Okay. So I am going to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to the exception relating to personnel matters of non-elected personnel, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom.
Marty, how much time do you need? Okay.
No later than 7:15, and I will invite Marty and Mr. Wilson. I need a second.
So,
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion come back to order. I'm going to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss negotiations pursuant to employer-employee negotiations. Under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at no later than 7:35. I will invite Marty and Brad.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Not ready yet.
What's the password?
Yeah, that's a great
Huh?
question, right?
Back to order. I'm going to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss out of district denial appeals to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma, and the open meeting will resume in
15.
no later than 7:55, and I will invite Brad and Marty. Just Brad into the board.
Second.
Seconded? It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Yes.
Sorry.
What?
Missing.
What are you still doing here, Jared?
He doesn't get a choice.
Boy. You paid overtime.
Yes. Right here.
No, we're here, the 18th.
Okay. Is there any action to be taken for the students who have been denied for board policy
We're out of district.
or out of district? transfer? All right, hearing none. Meeting.